So homework 26 starts off with the sum and difference identities, problem type 1. And so it wants us to find the exact value of sine of 105. And what we want to do is split it up either into a sum or a difference of the common ones that we know, like 45 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and separate it and then use our formula. So I'm going to flip over here to Linda's note sheet. Linda's note sheet says, here are your sum and difference formulas. A sine of A plus B is the sine of A, cosine of B plus cosine of A, sine of B, and so forth, all listed there. I'm going to keep my paper handy because I don't have these memorized. At one time I probably did, but I don't anymore. So that we have our sum and difference formulas. You might want to just print out my notes or the explain. Also on Alex, if you just go into the dictionary and type in sum and difference, it's going to bring you up a list with your different identities there that you can print out. The other thing you're going to want to keep handy is this handy dandy table. And I didn't put it on every single note sheet, but I put it on quite a few of your note sheets. But this is your common. The sine of 30 degrees is 1/2, cosine square root of 3 over 2. All of those, you're going to want to have that piece of paper handy. Also, again, I'm just going to keep it here because that way I don't have to keep flipping back and forth and looking at the chart. I'm going to assume you can look at the chart while I'm looking at my chart. So, over back here, I want to do the exact value of the sine of 105. So if I figure out the sine of 105, I see that it ends in a 5. I would probably subtract the 45 off of there first to see if 45 minus 105 is anything that's nice. And it happens to be 60. So I'm going to separate this into the sine of 60 plus 45, or 45 plus 60, whichever order you want to put that in. So using the sine of A plus B, I'm going to have the sine of A cosine of B plus cosine of A sine of B. So sine of A plus B, there's my formula. So I'm going to do the sine of 60 cosine of 45 plus cosine of 60 sine of 45. So this is where I want to grab my other piece of paper with my table in and look up what is the sine of 60. The sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of 60 is 1/2. And the sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. So we would get the square root of 6 over 4 plus the square root of 2 over 4. And then just combining that into one answer then, I would have the square root of 6 plus the square root of 2 all over 4 for my answer. So on the next one, if I'm finding the cosine of pi over 12, I want to think of that as 1/12. And how can I get 1/12? Well, I can get 1/12 if I take 1/3 minus 1/4, because if I have my common denominator, I would have 4/12 minus 3/12, which is 1/12. So I'm going to say that this is the cosine of pi over 3 minus pi over 4. Pi over 3 and pi over 4 are some of our common angles that we have. And so I'm going to do the cosine of A minus B, and if I look at the formula there, it says I'm going to take the cosine of A, cosine of B, and I'm going to add the sine of A, sine of B. So I'm going to do the cosine of pi over 3, cosine of pi over 4, plus the sine of pi over 3, and the sine of pi over 4. So again, looking at my table, that one that tells me what all of my angles, etc., cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2. Cosine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2, plus sine of pi over 3, square root of 3 over 2, and sine of pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2. So we're going to get the square root of 2 over 4 plus the square root of 6 over 4. So our answer, square root of 2 plus square root of 6 all over 4. Forgot if I had to check, see if I hit record. Cosine of 75. So again, if I think about 75, 45 plus 30 is 75. So I'm going to say I'm going to do the cosine of 45 plus 30. And then I'm going to use my formula for the cosine of A plus B. Looks sort of like the cosine of A minus B. We're just going to change a sign in there. So we're going to take the cosine of A, cosine of B, minus the sine of A, sine of B. And so, cosine of 45, cosine of 30, minus sine of 45, sine of 30. Cosine of 45, that's our square root of 2 over 2. We've done that a few times. Cosine of 30, square root of 3 over 2. Minus the sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. Sine of 30 is 1/2. So we're getting the square root of 6 over 4 minus the square root of 2 over 4. So our answer, whoa, that was crazy. I'm just going to leave that there for a minute. We have the square root of 6 minus the square root of 2 all over 4. See if I click that, if that, nope, wants to close my ink. There it is, got rid of that little message. So, keep your formulas handy, keep the sheet with your common angle, sine, cosine. That's all you're probably going to have to use on this one much. Handy, so you can look those up, and then you just simplify, get your answer.